Hello guys, this is Boomerang here and welcome back to another video, and today we are doing a tier list of every single villager trade in the entire game. Now note these are all for non-cured villagers, and for cured they'll probably be still in relative to each other similar, but I'll say some notable changes in the comment section down below. I will also have in the link in the description the tier list I'm using so that if you want to make your own and show it to me, you can go down to my Discord server and which also will be in the description and DM me. And I'll be happy to see what you guys come up with. Now anyways, let's get started with this video. First off, wheat. Probably C tier. Wheat is pretty good, although the trade, it's useful and all. Although the trade is just not that good. It's really expensive. Although, yeah, not a bad trade. Wheat is pretty good. Or, I mean, it's pretty good crop in itself. You could argue the most useful out of all of them, since you can make hay bales and target blocks and that sort of stuff. And because of that, that's the main reason why it's not in D or like E or something like that. Also, how I'm ranking it is God tier is remove remove the trade ASAP. It's breaking the game. S tier is probably needs a slight nerf. A tier is really good, but probably doesn't need a nerf. Maybe a slight one. B tier is above average. C is average-ish. D is slightly below average. E tier is below average but doesn't need a buff really. F tier is needs a buff, probably needs a slight buff, and it's really bad. And then Z tier is like, why does the trade even exist in the game? Like, it actually needs to be removed. So, anyways, continuing on with that in mind, carrots, B tier, pretty good. Not gonna lie, it's definitely the best out of the crop trade since it is carrots. You do get as many as potatoes, and the trade is actually cheaper, so you can get more emeralds from them. Also, carrots are a pretty good food source as well, so you can also use it that way. And overall, it's also a 16 trade, even though that doesn't make too much of a difference with crop trades. But overall, carrots, really good trade. But overall, the carrot trade is a really good trade, and probably the best out of the novice trades for the farmer. Next is potatoes, which will go in either B or C tier. Probably B. They're like the carrots, okay? You can also, if you want to make them into baked potatoes, you can't trade it like that. Although they do still, even though they're more expensive and you do get around as much as carrots, they're still a really good trade. And especially if you have them with both carrots and potatoes, you can get quite a lot of emeralds with very few restocks just by having a farm by farming these two. Beetroots are going in D tier. Now the reason why it's not an F is because it's actually a pretty good trade. The beetroots, well, it's not as good as the carrots or potatoes, but it is the least expensive out of all the four when it comes to like a number. It's only 15 beetroots compared to 20 for wheat, 22 for carrots, and 26 for potatoes, meaning I can hold a lot of them and trade them. Although at the same time, you only get one beetroot per crop, and that is why it's going in D tier. Bread, definitely B tier. A really good food source, not gonna lie. You could argue it's A as well. It's also a 16 trade, it's 1 emerald for 6 bread. And because of that, you can get a lot of bread real quick. And bread is also a pretty good food source, like I said. So, overall, a really good trade. Now, moving on to the apprentice trades. Wait. Yeah, it's apprentice. I had a complete brain fart right there. Pumpkins are definitely going into A. They're super easy to get and they're really cheap with villagers. They are definitely one of the most underrated trades, both when cured and without when it's not cured. And keep in mind we're not doing cured villagers, so there will be some which might look weird because of that. It's just the basic vanilla trades without the curing. But even with that, pumpkins are still easily an A tier trade. Next is pumpkin pie, and it's right here. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I think it's around the same tier as bread personally. You could argue that's lower than bread. I think overall they're pretty similar when it comes to food sources. I've run through them around the same. I've noticed also if you don't have bread as a novice trade, and you have like carrots and potatoes or like carrots and wheat or something like that, you can get pumpkin pie as an apprentice. You can get the pumpkin pie as an apprentice trade, and that will also do you pretty good as a food source. Something also to note is that there are 3 apprentice trades, so it'll only be a 2 in 3 chance. Apples, part of me wants to put in God tier, while another part of me wants to put in D tier. I'm putting in C, and here's why. Apples, they're the same price as pumpkin pie, although instead of pumpkin pie, which is a 12 trade, apples are a 16 trade. Oh yeah, pumpkins are also a 12 trade. I forgot to say that. So you can get slightly more of them, even though they do regenerate a lot less saturation. The reason why I was contemplating it with God tier at first is because of how stupidly hard apples are to get when just trying to get them from trees. So like, you're telling me you can either just spend hours mining oak leaves to get 2 stacks of apples or just get them in less than 1 minute from a farmer? I'll definitely take the latter. And really, that's the most important with golden apples right there. I think it's more they need to buff the drop rates of apples from trees. I think that's it. Melons are also going in B tier. Not as good as the pumpkin trade. You do have to craft them still. And they also give you less as a ratio, even when you craft them. But they are guaranteed, unlike the pumpkins. Now, something important to note is that with Crafter coming up, it could buff melons a bit since you can autocraft the melon slices and the melon blocks. But still, it's not going to be as efficient as pumpkins. Each melon just does not give you enough melons. It's as simple as that. Cookies, F tier. You're really saying that cookies are the same price as bread? I don't care that I get more. You're saying that these two things are the same price. Plus, cookies are like one of the worst food sources in the entire game. I mean, if you're eating cookies, I'm not trying to slander you, but villagers are just not it. Except if you're trying to get to the master's trade. Yeah, I actually was eating some on Awcraft a couple days ago, and they went by so ridiculously fast that made foods like such as carrots and pumpkin pie seem like they have infinite saturation. Like they are and apples as well. They are so stupidly bad. And for a fact that they're the same price as bread, which is like a million times better of a food source, is just absolutely ridiculous. They need to make this 1 emerald for 18 cookies. Like, I'm actually tempted to put in a Z tier now that I think about it. Like, 3 is just way too much. Suspicious stew, right here. I'm gonna put in D. I don't really drink suspicious stew. It's also kind of an RNG thing. Can either help you or hurt you. You really don't know. Although if you do get lucky, you could get like saturation stuff, and that could really help you. But yeah, like I said, it's an RNG thing. Golden carrots are going in B. Keep in mind, this is not the cured version. This is not cured. I think they're the best food source in the game, although you only get 1 per emerald. So, and because of that, I think it's around par with bread. Or pumpkin pie, with that matter. Glistering melons, straight into Z tier. They really need to make glistering melons like golden carrots because they're practically useless now. I think you use them for instant health with brewing, although other than that, yeah, they don't really have much use. Plus, it's 4 emeralds for 3 of them? Like, are you kidding me? They're more expensive than golden carrots. Yet they get used 1% of the time as much as golden carrots. Like, that's just stupid. Next is Fletcher's Sticks. A tier. Really good early on trade. You can chop down a bunch of trees, definitely the best for speed running, that sort of stuff. You can chop a whole bunch of trees down. It's 1 wood, 4 wood for an emerald, basically. And trade those sticks in and get emeralds and get whatever food you want. Really good trade overall. Arrows are going into B or C tier. I'm putting in B just because it's a really good deal. Now, granted, if you're using a bow with infinity, you probably won't need this at all. But if you're using like a crossbow or something like that, or a mending bow, this will be a really good trade for you. I mean, it's 3 stacks with 1 stocking, like 1 stock. Like, that's just insane, I think. No matter how much I absolutely hate trades and that sort of stuff, which turns gravel into flint, this actually isn't too bad of a trade. I mean, especially since it's like if you do need a flint, it can be an easy way of getting it. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in D tier, no matter how much that'll probably hurt my eyes. Flint. This goes for any villager trade with Flint. I'm probably gonna put in E tier, E or F. It just costs a lot of Flint, okay? It just does. Now, yes, you can use a shovel with Curse of Infinity Flint and mine a whole bunch of Flint yourself, and you can use it kind of like a almost like a mason with a stone trade. Although at the same time, oh, that actually might not be a bad way of getting emeralds now that I think about it. I'm keeping it an E tier though. I just absolutely despise Flint. I don't know why. I just do. Bow? Uh, D or E? I'll do D. It's not very expensive. String? Now this is for Fletcher's. It doesn't say, although I should probably said it. String for Fletcher's, definitely B tier. It's a very good deal. Or at least compared to the Fisherman. Spoiler right there. It's also guaranteed, so yeah, there's that. Crossbows, B tier as well. I don't know why. I absolutely hate tripwire hooks. I just do. And the fact that it takes 1 tripwire hook, the fact that it costs a tripwire hook to create a crossbow, just no. Absolutely not. Well, yes, you can get them from pillagers, and to be honest, if you're not a big crossbow user, that's probably the best way to do it. Although still, it's only 3 emeralds. It's a pretty good deal if you ask me. Feathers, probably E tier. Where's feathers? Um, definitely good if you have chicken farm. Other than that, it's really expensive. Now I'm not doing the enchanted bow or crossbow or fishing rod or things like that. I'm not doing enchantments, so I'm not doing those trades with the Fletchers, not the enchanted bow or crossbow ones. Well, if I did, they probably would be pretty low, like an E or F tier, because oftentimes the enchantments don't really matter. It's just for looks. Anyways, tripwire hooks. According to tripwire hooks, F tier. Tempted to put in Z. The only reason why I didn't put in Z is because you do get some from fishing, and you can use that for, well, so those 8 tripwire hooks. Like, each tripwire hook costs 1 iron. So that's twice as much as you need for, like, the iron trade. Yeah, no. And also you need the wood. You need the sticks. I don't even know if it's 16 or not. I'm pretty sure I've never used the trade before. You know what? I'm putting in Z. Just because I hate tripwire hooks that much. Keep in mind that this is not emeralds for tripwire hooks. It's tripwire hooks for emeralds. it tipped arrows. I did harming because that's what I usually like with this trade. I actually have one on Oddcraft currently with harming. I know some people like weakness. I've been liking weakness arrows recently. Um, that's gonna be a solid B tier. Very solid of a trade. I mean, they're pretty easy to obtain with the Fletcher with that one trade. I mean, you get 60 per day. And overall, I mean, even though if you're using an infinity bow, they aren't very practical. If you're using a crossbow, they're extremely strong. And if you want to like do some sort of contraption with like using weakness arrows and dispensing and shooting zombie villagers with those instead of weakness potions, it's really good in that way. And keep in mind, you don't have to do any brewing that way. You just need the golden apples. Next is the fisherman. String, D or E probably. Uh, I'll put an E, just since the Fletcher's trade is for it so much. It's also guaranteed on Fletcher's end. I mean, even if this was a 16 and this was a 12, this trade would just be so much better either way. So that wouldn't really make a difference. Coal for fishermen, you could argue I'm gonna put it in B. It's really cheap. 10 coal for an emerald. That I mean if you I know I'm not doing it with cured village and that sort of stuff, although if you cure it, it's like 4 or 5 coal for an emerald, and it is a really good way of using some of the coal you might have lying around. And overall, it's cheap, and overall, it's a really good trade. Raw cod, a cooked cod. I'm gonna put that on. Oh, that's not it. Gonna put that in D. I mean, it's 16 trade. If you have cod, I guess you can use it. I mean, I don't really like those sort of trades, although I guess instant cooking is nice sometimes. I mean, it depends on the person, I guess. I personally like the bucket of cod trade. It's not because of the cod. It's just because it's 3 emeralds for a bucket. And oftentimes I run out of iron, and because of that, I run out of buckets, and it's just an easy way of getting buckets. Although I'm not putting that higher than C because that probably is a minority of opinion on my end. COD trade, probably going in B or A. I'm gonna put an A. Really good deal. If you have I almost said goblin farm, a guardian farm, this will do really well, and you can get so many emeralds from it. Even if, like with an AFK fish farm or something like that, you can still get so many emeralds from it because the COD is actually pretty cheap, not gonna lie. And even with the uncured price, it's still cheap. The only problem is that it is only a 2 in 3 chance. It's not guaranteed, but that's fine. Next, we have the campfire, which is right here. I'm gonna put it in C. It's a good way of getting coal if you need coal. What you just do is you get the campfires and then you break them with an axe. Each campfire gives you 2 coal. So, yeah. Or if you really like designing with campfires, it can be expensive. That can also be useful in that way. Salmon cooking trade, it's better than the cod one. It's not guaranteed. I'm also gonna put it in D just because, like I said, I mean, even though it's better than the cod one, it's not guaranteed, and also this sort of cooking sort of thing, automatic cooking, I feel like the deal's just not good enough for that, personally, with both cod and salmon. Salmon for emeralds, according to salmon. I'm gonna put that in C. Or D. I'll put it in D actually. Just not very obtainable. It's barely cheaper than cod, and it's over twice as rare with fishing. And you almost never see it with Guardian Farms. So yeah, just not really an obtainable trade. Fishing rod, it's enchanted, too expensive most of the time. Better off just using your string to craft one, I feel like. Tropical fish, also F tier, too expensive as well. They're very rare with fishing. And yeah, don't see them very much, and they're really expensive. Pufferfish, B tier. Uh, yeah, unlike those, pufferfish are actually really cheap, and you get them pretty frequently from fishing. So that also, it's around as good as the cod trade when fishing, actually. They're about equal. The boat trade, it's very clunky, okay? I don't know if it's just oak boats or if it's like any kind of boat, or if it varies. If you're wondering, it's a boat for an emerald, not an emerald for a boat. Although, if you are gathering oak wood, it is actually a really good trade. I mean, it's a lot better than the sticks. Just be careful about your inventory though, because it'll probably overflow a lot. Moving on to butchers, which I'd say are the least balanced villager in the entire game. Yeah, you'll see why. First off, chicken. F tier, just too expensive. It's 10 chicken for an emerald. I think they were thinking like that that with like automatic chicken cookers and that sort of stuff, or balanced it out with the cooked chicken price and pork chop price, which you'll see later on. But yeah, it's just too expensive. Pork chop trade, uh, extremely underrated. Actually, in the most recent Desert Survival video, I actually changed my Hoglin from producing cooked pork chops to raw, so it could convert them into emeralds. They're really cheap as well. 7 raw pork chops for an emerald. Yeah, with the Hoglin farm, that can get you a lot of emeralds. Rabbit trade, I'm gonna put in D. Uh, Rabbit is hard to get and that sort of stuff, so yeah, it kind of can't be higher than D tier. And also, you can't really farm it in an easy way, although it's very cheap. It's only 4 rabbit for an emerald. If you are looking for bundles, this could be a really good way of getting rid of the rabbit. Yeah. Rabbit stew, I'm also going to put in D just because even though it has a lot of saturation, it actually is pretty good for a stew. Um, no, I'm putting in C. I'm putting in C. It has a lot of saturation. Although in front of that, it can only stack up to 1. So in that way, it's kind of a bit clunky. Coal, this is not only for butchers, this is for all of the smiths as well. It's the miscellaneous coal. I'm probably going to put in D tier. It's just a lot more expensive. It's like the string. Compared to fishermen, it just doesn't shine anywhere near as much. Especially at the butcher. And you will see just now. Cooked chicken. God tier. What the f? Like, who thought about this? Like, who was like, oh, yeah, let's just add a trade. Not cured. No, not cured. Please, let's just make it 1 emerald for 8 cooked chicken. Ah, yes. Also make it a 16 trade, by the way. And nobody will use it because that trade is just so bad. Yeah. Why does nobody use butchers? This trade is so good. It aggravates me. It just does. Like compared to like every other single food trade. It just is not balanced at all. Like, seriously. You get more well, if you do per restock, you get almost as much chicken as you get cookies. If you do it per emerald, you get more! Like, what the heck? Chicken's also a really good food source. Why? Just why? Yeah, along with the 8 chicken for 1 emerald, or along with the 1 emerald for 8 chicken, let's just make 1 emerald for 5 pork chops as well. I mean, just since nobody knows about this sort of villager, let's just make it as broken as possible. Make it appeal for everyone. Also, why? Like these are like just as good as each other. I feel like, aka, way too overpowered. You know, I guess the only thing, or the only reason why Mojang didn't nerf it is because vegans exist. Next, we got steak or raw beef. I'm not really a big fan of like killing mobs and that sort of stuff for that. So like the rabbit trait, I don't really use very much. That sort of stuff. Although if that's your style, I mean, Go ahead, C tier. Same thing with mutton. It's cheaper. If you like to do that sort of stuff, it's a good trade for you. I mean, both of them are pretty cheap, so yeah. Good on you, I guess. Kelp block Z. Why is it so infuriatingly expensive? Just why? It's 10 kelp blocks for an emerald. You need you need 3/2 as many kelp to get one emerald, not to mention dried kelp, to get one emerald as you do bamboo. Why? Why? Just why? For a long time, I thought that this was the worst trade in the game, to be honest. That's how horrible it is. And there's probably a few which are worse, but still. Like, this needs to be price buffed ASAP. And now it's time to go on to the only trade with butchers that's actually balanced. I know, right? We finally came to that point. Yeah, Sweet Berries B tier. Just really good trade, I feel like. Well actually balanced, I think these are balanced as well. But yeah, it's just a really good trade. You can farm a lot. And it gives you a lot of emeralds as well. They're pretty cheap. So, Sweet Berry farms are definitely good in that regard. Moving on to leatherworkers. Leather. If you have a Hoglin farm, it can be a good trade. Well, actually, C tier since you don't get as much leather as you do with pork chops. Or steak farm. But yeah, it's an average trade, It can be good, although it also can be not so good. Now, this goes for any piece of leather armor where there's like different trades for pieces of leather armor you get with a leather worker. Too expensive. It's the same price as iron armor. I mean, it just doesn't provide value. I mean, I guess boots are fine because of the powder snow, but still. I mean, it should be like the same price as chain, I feel like. Leather horse armor, if you're sort of thing, I guess. I mean, it is a really easy way of obtaining it. Same thing with saddles. It's a bit higher. It's the only renewable really way of it's the only renewable way of getting saddles. Even though saddles aren't very useful currently, it still could be good for that regard. Rabbit hides. I mean, I get why they made it more expensive than leather, but they're just hard to get. They really are. I think generally speaking, rabbits need a huge buff. I think that's been causing a lot of issues. Moving on to clerics, we've got rotten flesh. I mean, it's pretty expensive, although at the same time, I mean, you probably have a lot of rotten fleshes lying around in chests waiting to be used. It's like, use me. And I mean, so because of that, you probably can get a lot of emeralds with it. And also, so yeah, I think it's fair enough to be C tier. Redstone, B tier. I mean, it's a good way of getting redstone. Okay, it is. Gold, A or B tier. I'll put an A. It's very cheap. Good with gold farms. And lapis, I'm probably also gonna go put in B with redstone. I personally really like both of the trades. You could argue lapis is in C. This has become like a speed run. Glowstone, E or F. Yeah, I'll put an F. It's just too expensive. I feel like rabbit's foots. Rabbit's feet. It's very cheap. It's only 2 for 1 emerald, so I'm gonna put it in D. And I mean, if you are killing a lot of rabbits, you probably have a couple. Like I said, it's a lot cheaper than the hides. So yeah, that's why it's higher. Glass bottles. C. I'll put it in C tier. Yeah, you can make infinite emeralds with them in the glass trade. Although that's really on the glass trade. Oh, I'm spoiling things, am I? It's a good way though to if you have excess glass to use them up and get emeralds with them. Especially since one emerald, or sorry, one glass is one bottle, and it's pretty cheap as well. Scutes, I don't think I've ever gotten a single scute. Straight up. Both the leatherworker and the queer habit. They're just so hard to get. And I don't even know when the turtles drop them. Do they drop them when they grow to adults? Do you drop them when they hatch out of the eggs? I actually don't know. Can you guys tell me in the comments section below? Also, why does it cost not one, not two, not three, but four of them to get one emerald? Why? Just why? Like, what torture are you trying to put us through, Mojang? Ender Pearls, if I'd say a normal Minecraft, F tier, but at the same time, like, there is speed running, and like that's an S tier trade for speed running. So I'll just go in the middle and say C tier. Nether warts, I'll probably say C tier as well. I mean, they're pretty expensive, but at the same time, if you have some extra nether wart, it's not the end of the world. You know, you can get quite a few emeralds from trading with them. Enchanted bottles. Wait, do I have them? Oh, it's right here. Oh my gosh, it was right in front of my eyes. Gonna put them in E tier just because it's like without curing, they just oftentimes it's like I feel like oftentimes when you don't cure it, it's just you get more XP by just doing some one emerald trades like lanterns or glass or quartz or something like that than trading for the bottles of enchanting and you know splashing them on you. I guess they are useful for carrying around when you need XP, but I think on an XP basis, it just isn't as efficient as just normal trading. Moving on to the shepherd. Uh, wool, I'm gonna put in C tier. It is pretty expensive, although if you have a wool farm, you can get quite a bit of emeralds from it. I mean, brown wool. I'm probably if I don't have it on here, but if I do, I'd probably put in D or E tier just because it's weirdly gimmicky. I don't know why they have brown wool as one, but yeah. Shears, I'm probably gonna put in D or E. D tier probably. I mean, if you don't have the iron, it's not a big deal. It's only 2 emeralds, so you can get it. I mean, it's just for now. I'll put it in D tier. If you don't have iron and you need shears, it is there, and it's not expensive. Wool, yeah, I need to change my hotkey. It looks like now this is emeralds for wool, not wool for emeralds. Gonna put that in F tier. Just really expensive. 1 emerald for a wall. Yeah, I think it should be buffed to 2. Carpets, on the other hand, you get 4, so it's over twice the value. So I'm gonna put that in C. Good way to get carpets if you need them. Although, keep in mind, these are not guaranteed at all. Dye trade. Depending on which dye you get, it can be super useful. Like, if you have a tall flower farm and get yellow, red, orange, purple, or magenta, you are set. And it will be easily a high A tier or low S tier. But if you don't have one of those, and they're also pretty rare, it can be kind of iffy at times. I'm gonna put it in C tier. It's just in between. I would say it's like E or D if you don't have that. I mean, dye isn't expensive, so isn't that expensive, but still, it might be hard to get in some situations. Next, we have beds. I'm gonna put in E tier. Um, I mean, you get some on going through, and I guess it's not a big deal in that, like unlocking new tiers, but at the same time, it's like it's not that good of a deal. I feel like it loops back to the problem with the wool. It's just too expensive. Banners, though, they are a better deal. Could put them in C for that reason. If you want banners, they're there, and they're also pretty cheap. Oh, as compared to these two. Paintings as well. They're going in C or D. Put them in D. Uh, no, C. They're a good deal. I feel like compared to wool, of course. But yeah, if you need paintings, just go to Shepherd. Bam, you can get some very quickly. Mason. Masons are definitely interesting, okay? I mean, they're the newest, they're actually the newest villager type of them all. Only one just came in 1.14. Only new type, at least. Clay for emeralds, B tier, you can get quite a lot of clay balls from that. From mining clay and then just turn them into emeralds. Emeralds to bricks, same thing. You get quite a lot of bricks that way. Stone for emeralds, I'm also gonna put in B tier because, or actually, I'll put in an A. For the reason that if you mine a lot with silk touch, you can just turn all of that into emeralds. It's also really cheap as well. Uh, oh, I'm skipping ahead, am I? Oh, I forgot to trade. Okay. There's the chiseled stone bricks. Those would go in D tier probably though. Just saying that. Weighs andesite diorite granite for emeralds. I'm kind of putting all of them in that category. I'm gonna put in C tier. Can be useful sometimes. I could also get a lot of emeralds that way. You know what? I'm just gonna put that in B for that reason. For the polish variants, I'm gonna put an A. Or no, B. Just really good trade. It's 1 emerald for 4 of them. Like that's just really good, I think. Dripstone blocks. I don't use dripstone blocks very much. Go put them in C tier, I guess. I don't know very much about them. Although, yeah, it's the same thing. It's 1 emerald for 4 of them. Terracotta, I'm putting in E. The reason why is that it's just hard to get the right color, you know? Takes a lot of RNG, although overall it's a pretty good deal. Quartz, on the other hand, um, I'm gonna put in B tier. You could argue A. If you have a lot of emeralds, you can get a lot of quartz by just trading with villagers. And it's 1 emerald for a quartz, which also, I mean, which does seem expensive at first, although that actually is relatively cheap when you think about how hard it is to get quartz otherwise. You also have the pillars, which can turn into slabs to get even more quartz as well, so this kind of double up on each other. Anyways, the last book or tool or armor sort of profession, the cartographer. Paper. This is also for librarians. Both have this trade. I'm gonna put in C tier. It's pretty expensive, I feel like, but at the same time, you probably have a pretty big sugarcane farm, so you can probably get a lot, especially if you're using rockets. If you get more sugarcane than gunpowder, which is usually the case for me, it's a pretty good trade. Maps, they're just expensive, okay? They just really are. Uncured. Cured, they're much higher, but uncured, they're expensive, period, but like, from a cartographer, they're especially expensive. Although at the same time, I can see who's using this. You know, I'll put an E. I can see people using this though, like, uh, if they don't have any iron, you know, and they have a lot of, farms to use, they can get it and want to do a giant mapping project, they can get it from emeralds that way. Glass pane trade, I'm going to put in with glass battles at C. There is that Infinity Emeralds glitch. I actually have a video about it I made 4 years ago. I'll link it in the description down below. But like I said, that's also on the glass trade. It's not on the glass pane trade. I did not include like maps or anything like that for the cartographer. Just so yeah, there's that. Is there any other one? I think of oh, okay. So there's a weird one with cartographers where you can get compass for an emerald. I didn't include that though. I actually never even knew about that. I'd probably say that's like E or F. That just seems weirdly clunky. Okay, I don't like it. I just don't. And now it's time for the big ones. First off, books. This is any enchanted book. I mean, this is obvious. Okay, yeah, obvious. I mean, I'm well aware of the villager nerfs coming. I'm not basing it off of that. I do think that is necessary though, because yeah, no, that I do feel like that did need a nerf. Bookshelves, I'm gonna put in B tier. I mean, even ever since their huge price nerf, I think they're balanced personally. If you if you need books, they're a good way to get them. You know, if you don't have any books and you need enchanted books, just grab a few bookshelves, break them for the books, and then just get the enchanted books from there. It's as simple as that. Books for emeralds. Ever since 1.15, the loop has been patched. Although I'd say, although it is good for getting up villagers, and oh no, what did I do? Okay, it saved my progress. Oh, I got very scared for a second. Okay, yeah, books will probably go in B tier, not F, definitely. I mean, if you have both the leather and oh, it's doing this again. Why? Gosh. Yeah, if you both have the leather and paper, I mean, it is cheaper on both ends, so go ahead. And also, like I said, it's very good for just getting your librarian up to the expert level. Next, we have lanterns. I'm also gonna put that on B. Um, for a really good trade, a really good way to get light sources. Ink sacks for buying ocean. See, if you're buying ocean, it's cool. If not, it can be a bit of a nuisance. I mean, it's good. They're cheap as well, so you can get a lot of emeralds from that. For all, I think it's a perfect example of an average trade, though. Glass, on the other hand, it was not nerfed enough. Why is it 4? Why? 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 You could have done it one emerald, one glass. Like, keep it with the terracotta and quartz. You could have even done it 2. But why 4? And now you have these infinity emeralds loops when you cure them with both the glass pane trades and the glass bottle trades. I. Why? Enchanted books, or sorry, booking, not enchanted books, sorry, book and quill. I mean, if you have the feathers, I guess it's cool and all. It's not that bad of a deal. Can clog up your inventory though. Uh, compass and clock. I don't have clock. Why? What happened to my clock? Hello? Clock? Okay, whatever. Compass. This is the same with the clock. It's really different. It's expensive, okay? Or at least I feel like it's expensive. Gonna put an E tier with the maps. I think that's around the area it deserves. And with the name tags, I'll put in C. They are expensive. That's the only issue. Although, it is the only way you can get it without, like, in a renewable manner. So, you can get a lot that way. Anyways. Anyways, with the... Going on with the toolsmith next. We have stone tools. Probably gonna put all of them in, like... You know what? I'll put all of them in F except for hose. Put hose in C. Um, yeah. I mean, you probably have the stone at this point, to be honest. uh, and the hose, I mean, you don't really need a good hoe. I mean, even now that even if they destroy more, if you're like just planting crops or whatever, you can just grab a stone hoe for 1 emerald, and that's perfectly fine. Iron trade, oops, this goes for every single villager or every single smith, S tier. Note that's I think 1 in 3 chance for armorers to have it. There's just something to be aware of. It's guaranteed with toolsmiths and weaponsmiths. Yeah. Bells, they're just expensive, I feel like. Too expensive. Like 40 emeralds, like really? I think that's the only way you can obtain them. But still. Okay, you know what? For that, I'm gonna bring it up. Just bump it up 1 tier. But still, they're just way too expensive. Diamond trade, no explaining. I don't think I need to explain it. It only gives you 1 emerald. Like that's a scam. Mojang's scamming us there. Like, why? You really want us to go up and to where do you live? I don't know. Protest to buff this trade? I don't know. Like, this is probably the worst trade out there, to be honest. Yeah, 1 diamond for an emerald. That's just straight up screaming scam right at your face. The hoe, on the other hand, I actually, even before 1.16, I really liked it, but now it's just even better. I've probably put in like A or B. It's only 4 emeralds for a diamond hoe. Like, that's just stupid. Yeah, and that's why it's so cheap. This was created back when hose used to be diamond hose used to be like a literal meme. Although even then, diamond hose have so much durability and so cheap. It's like, why not? But now since hose are so much more useful, it's just not the same. They're just much better now. You could argue God tier for them. Uh, axe or no shovel. Let's do shovel first. S tier as well. You know what? I'm gonna put all these in S tier, and also the sword. We'll get to that. Yeah, no explaining. I feel like just boosts progression so much in the early game. I mean, it is kind of stupid how you don't even have to mine a single diamond nowadays in order to get diamond tools and armor, full diamond tools and armor. But still, guess that's villagers. Since we're on weaponsmiths, guess let's do weaponsmiths. Sword. I mean, they're just they're enchanted. So I mean, I guess no. I'm gonna put an E tier. It depends on enchantment. They can be really expensive sometimes though. Axe, iron axe for 3 emeralds. Probably gonna put it on D. I don't really see that much use for that. No, I'll put in with the sword in E. I don't know. Oh, I forgot about this. Uh, enchanted iron tools for toolsmiths. I'll put them in C because they're usually pretty cheap. And then we have the armorers last. The iron armor. Probably gonna put in D tier. I mean, it's just expensive. I feel like chainmail armor though is actually really cheap. It's 1 emerald for each piece, although at the same time you can't have all 4 pieces on one villager. So, and it's really rare on 2 as well. I mean, you can have it, although the odds are completely against you. And also, at that time, it's like, you usually are above chainmail because of armor, so I'll just put it in C. And then the diamond armor. Put chestplate in A since elytras are just way too overpowered. And then the other pieces I'll put in S. And then we have the shield and the lava bucket. Shield will go in C, lava bucket will go in D. Shield, I mean, it's expensive, but at the same time, you can get them for emeralds. Like, I mean, it is really expensive. That's the only problem. I sometimes just don't like how much wood, goes into shields. There's that iron as well. So yeah, I like the trade. Lava bucket's just very clunky. I mean, I don't think it's that bad of a trade, but just a very clunky trade. And that does it for the tier list. Now, if you want me ranking villager professions, I can do that in a different video. But yeah, this is the entire tier list. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like. Also, I love it how all of the S tiers are only like ones with the smiths. Like no other villagers have these. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe my channel, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace out!